I think we should be live already.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm just making
Can you see the
sure
stream on YouTube?
think so. Yeah, can see your Discord, I think.
Yeah, okay. Should be fine, I think.
Oh, I'm sharing the link in the Discord. Perfect. Here we go.
Okay. So I guess we are live already. So first, I want to welcome you to my channel. And I'm so glad that you agree to be on today's stream and to do this Elliott Wave Bitcoin analysis exclusively for my subscribers. So I truly appreciate it, bro.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. I really don't know. Yeah, I'm glad to be
Yeah.
here
So
with you
maybe I
guys.
should say some words in Bulgarian to introduce you to my subscribers. And then we can start, okay?
Okay.
Здравейте на всички и добре дошли на днешния лайв стрим, който е предоставен специално за вас от моят приятел French Bull, който е част от екипа на Toros Crypto. Така че един от най-добрите наистина Elliott Wave анализатори, които може да намерите в пространството. Така че надявам се стримът да ви бъде интересен. Сигурен съм, че ще бъде така. И ако имате въпроси, може да ги задавате в чата на стрима, след което съм сигурен, че нашия приятел French Bull ще отговори на всеки един от тях. Така че отпуснете се и се насладете на днешния стрим и приятно гледане. So, okay, bro, we are ready to start. What's the plan for today? What have you prepared for us?
Yeah, great. Thank you for introducing me. So I don't speak Bulgarian. I hope you didn't say anything bad about it. I'm sure you can. But yeah, so it's pretty simple. I'm just gonna review the item frame count I'm seeing for Bitcoin right now. So I'm going to start with a very high time frame from the beginning, 2010. And I will gradually step down on the lower time frame to see what we can focus for the coming years and coming months, basically, or even coming years in plural, even, and maybe even coming weeks. I will
Sounds
try
great.
to make things as clear as possible. Yeah. So
Okay.
I should share my screen here on Zoom. Screen 2. And I think it's good.
I think it's perfect.
Okay. So Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a pretty strong bull market, as nobody can deny it so far. At least if we take it on the very long period. What is interesting in what I just highlight here with the yellow line is, as you probably already know, it's like cycle I've been correlated with the halving, right? Usually we we tend to bottom a year prior to the halving and go in the big part of the bull market just after it happened, right? And so with Elliott Wave, we can try to fit this halving in the idea of each leg being an impulse, right? I think everybody know more or less what Elliott Wave is. So the idea is just that market advancing in 5 waves, that each of it can be subdivided in 5 waves as well. And here we're entering the kind of a particular moment right now, or we already are in, because with the Elliott Wave theory, market advance in 5 waves with 3 actionary waves. So the actionary wave are the one that go along the trend, right? And the thing is that we already had the 3 bull market, right? So with this in mind, we could have, maybe I could start with that, a count that say, okay, we already had 3 bull markets, so we already printed 5 waves with 2 corrective, right? And I wouldn't say that's invalid, clearly, because I draw it. That's a possible outcome, but probably not the one or most likely not the one I'm going to favor, right? I think we have still a lot of potential here on the midterm. But we can start with this simple idea already. Now, as the market is evolving, for me, I'm considering, like a lot of other theoreticians, that is just very sensible to consider the last 5 waves that we probably are still in, just to have an extra subdivision here, instead of having the full impulse going quickly into less than a year or about a year here. While we just had a less strong bull market the last time, and we can just subdivide into a longer period for this 5th wave, which makes sense because as the asset is evolving and maturing, it's normal for it to just take more time to evolve, right? To lose a bit in volatility, even if it's still very much volatile, but for the volatility to tighten a bit and 6 to 10 more. So that's gonna be that is my main count right now, which I believe bottom that we printed last year in November was wave 4 of this macro 5th wave. I have pretty high confidence about this, so I'm not expecting this $15,000 which get taken anytime soon, if ever. So that's gonna be a pretty interesting years to come right now. We're gonna zoom in after to see how we can see the potential subdivision for that 5th wave, right? Because right now it doesn't give much. It's giving insight for long-term swing trading positioning, but not necessarily for the short term. After this happened, or maybe before this, for now, if I'm basing my target for this 5th wave here in white the same way it did happen not the last 2, but the first 2 impulses here. Well, the target that I have at the moment is about $242,000. Is it gonna reach that high? Is it gonna reach beyond it? I mean, everything is still possible at the moment, but yeah, that's basically where I'm aiming to. And at least what we should see is for previous all-time, the current all-time high that we have right now to be taken. That's kind of the minimum target we should see for a fifth wave. Might depend when it happened, how it happened, obviously. But yeah, the question is, are we gonna see really an explosion at the end of it or not? Are we gonna just be, or at least that's the main question I have right now, personally, is what's gonna be the behavior as we take a previous all-time high, if we indeed do it? Right? Are we gonna see explosion or not? Because also we know that there is a lot of new, bigger participants coming into the market for the past few years and getting more and more serious about it. You know, BlackRock, etc., all the big financial industry. So, and we see how the market changes behavior compared to the previous one. We already didn't have much of an explosion at the end of the previous bull market. So maybe we will have something a bit smaller. That's why I'm also keeping a few alternative ideas. One being an ending diagonal here. So it's still the same idea. So instead of having the white count here, going for the that red count. And so that's the idea. We could see a bit more contraction. So take the previous all-time high, have a bit of a bootstrap into FOMO here, and then come back inside the range, still take the high one slight time, which we can call some sort of a triple drive pattern, that have changed here. Yeah. Now, for an idea like this, I'm forecasting it here, just mostly for, not entertaining, but learning purpose. But really, we want this to be a lot more advanced into the pattern to really bet on that. I'm not going to bet on that outcome for now. I'm just being aware it may happen. No, that one. And I'm keeping as well one alternative scenario here, a bit in the middle, because I'm not really seeing the very bearish scenario that I talked at the beginning, where we will have finished the full impulse here and we will be entering a lot longer correction, for a simple fact that let me come back on this before. Bear one. Okay, this ID here, it is valid technically, but for such a things to happen, well, after we finish 5 waves here, that means we're entering into a wave 2 that's going to correct all of the 10 years here. So it will need a lot of time to complete, and it will need to retrace at least at the minimum to the 236 fib level of this uptrend. That's kind of the minimum we should expect for retracement for wave 2. And this retracement takes us back to, about $1,000. So, and at this price level, the market cap of Bitcoin is so low compared to who is potentially interesting in entering the market, that it doesn't really make sense in a bullish outcome. It can make sense if just fairly and Bitcoin were going to get banned and just going to never trade at such high level that it did. But from what I'm saying currently in the news, it's not the likely outcome anymore. It is a less and less likely outcome. And so I'm keeping an alternative bear scenario just for, for the trappy move, if you want. The one where this so-called institution could be tricking us with the halving coming and everybody expecting expansion in price to the upside happening with this halving, and sell into this and have this 15K bottom get taken. So with this count, the idea here is that we print a first wave during the first year here, and all of this bull market since 11 to 21 have been only the third wave here. So that would allow us to stay into, or to come back into this bigger range here. Let me make this a bit bigger, maybe. And to see a bit more consolidation and come back potentially below the 10K level, but not necessarily having to go below the 3K level, but could allow to retest the 2018 20 range here. That one is the one I could keep in mind. For now, I'm not necessarily expecting it. It's not that I'm not expecting it, but I'm not reading it right now because, well, it's going to be time to zoom in here. But for such a thing to happen, we'll need to be able to read a corrective pattern here, right? And for now, what we are seeing from the price action from last year, well, is not looking corrective at all. Now, if things evolve and we top out here and we have a leg down and another leg up, then we can start to form an ABC corrective pattern, and maybe and if we are not able to breach a all-time high and start to reject here, and the halving and maybe the spot ETF approval gets sold into a lower high, and we start to see strong selling here to buy the liquidation, basically. That will be the goal of the so-called institutions in that plan. And that could be a potential outcome, but yeah. Again, I have this in mind, but before I'm reading it, I'm more credible, and I'm not really planning much for it, right? The idea for now for me is just that we are still at the beginning of a new extreme bull market that could send us toward $200,000. Maybe I should keep an eye on the chat. Oh yeah, we say that we're going to do the question later after I review everything.
Yeah, I guess there are not many questions right now, so maybe you should continue and we can discuss the questions after you finish.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay.
So I'm going to shift to another chart here. Zooming in a bit on the daily chart.
Actually, sorry for interrupting you, but there is one interesting question. The last one. If you want, you can answer that one.
Oh, yeah. When will be the next BTC top in your approximation? Thanks for joining. Wow. You're welcome. My pleasure. I don't really have a timestamp ready as of yet, because I have an idea for, well, I have several ideas of how things could evolve in the coming months, but I need to see how how it does indeed evolve in the coming months is to be able to forecast a bit better the next step. But if I were to look at what happened on the previous cycle, well, we, especially the two last one, we did print wave one of the cycle about with a bottom about a year prior to the halving. And so the question I have right now is, are we indeed going to complete one wave this year and have a bigger correction, or at least a wave two happening just prior or around the halving? If that's the case, well, we'll see. But the idea is that it could end in end of next year or 2025 if we were to do the same thing here.
Yeah.
But it's
It
a bit
looks
early.
nice.
Yeah.
There is one more question for you, mate.
In that count, wave 3 from 2015 to 2018 will be the shortest. Isn't that again the rule? Thanks.
I'm not sure for which count he is referring to.
15 to 18. I think he's talking about this being the smallest wave. Not really. Okay. It might be if you set things on log. It seems that the third wave is smaller, but what is important is, in that occurrence, is linear scale, not with the log scale. You know, the log scale can be very useful for the extension, etc., especially in Bitcoin, for the targets. But in terms of breaking the rules, no, the third wave is still bigger than the first here. You know, well, I just have to shift to this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, there is many Elliottians that use only linear scale to do Elliott Wave. I'm not part of this because it's not really practical with Bitcoin, but yeah, you can see that this third wave is still way bigger than the first. And right, it is. So no invalidation here, that matter. So yeah, now I'm not really reviewing the corrective count because it doesn't really matter at that point, but kind of a complex correction here. But let's assume that we do have the bottom, which I believe to be very highly likely. The most obvious count we can look for at the beginning of a new trend here on our reversal is an extension, several extensions here. So the idea that, well, we can cleanly count a complete impulse here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correction to the 50%, nice target for 2. This one is a bit more complex, but again, it is valid. The third wave is smaller than 1, but the fifth is smaller than the third, so that work out. We have a nice triangle correction here, which is a classic wave 4. And so the idea is that we have wave 1, 2, and a sub-wave 1, sub-wave 2, and that we are probably about to finish, again, sub-wave 1 of that larger wave 3. In theory, is that where to happen indeed? Is that the correct count? Well, we should expect the next move to be the squeeziest of all, you know, the strongest of all. In fact, it makes sense because we are at a very key support resistance flip here if we do advance higher. So based on this, my plan right now is clearly to be a big buyer on any retrace that we could have in the previous consolidation here. Any retrace, I will try to count the corrective pattern as best as possible, obviously. But yeah, I probably want to be a buyer. Now, considering the emotional state of the market right now, you know, the bullishness is, well, market is step by step flipping more and more bullish. Each time you make an impulse and you have your correction, people flip bearish, but you take the high or flip a bit more bullish, etc. So now that's the third time we take the high after a decent time of correction. But with the speed of this move, the thing is that it's probable that a lot of people are left behind right now, being kicked out of the market in the choppiness here. And that can often resolve into a very shallow retrace because, you know, with 2, you could expect a 50 to golden bucket retrace. But sometimes it can be a lot more shallow, right? And I think that might be what will happen here. With this in mind, it is not impossible that we completed already a wave 1 here, and we already finished a wave 2, and that the next leg we're gonna enter gonna be the third wave, and we could be going to a very strong move right away right now. I'm not sold on that idea. I think we still have a wave 2 to come, and that we still have a wave 1 to finish, but that move could be extremely quick. Or even if it's deep, in fact, it could be extremely quick. It could be a big long liquidation, you know, and going back up right away. So with this in mind, it's probable that I'm going to let some resting bids with a stop loss at the low, something I don't often do, but there is a strong invalidation for the count, a strong case, and yeah, I'm probably just gonna have some bids resting here in case there is a flash crash where I will not be in front of the computer, you know. But yeah, that's the most compelling count. Now, kind of in the state I'm right now, which is in between, is that I have in mind that yeah, halving is next year, so in April, end of April next year. Well, this can still fit. No, I'm just trying to consider how we could finish a nice impulse here and still have a correction end of year, beginning of next year. Because I wouldn't want us to go right away, but that's also a possibility, because with the height of the first waves that we have here, the fib extension that gave us for the potential target for the third wave here are pretty wide, you know. Target for third wave that can work on log, the 161.8, 261.8, for up to 561.8. So right now we have, yeah, big enough 1, 2 for us to be going to the full target of the macro fifth wave we are looking for, right? Maybe this time that cycle gonna be front running the halving. That's possible. Right? It's not because something happened 4 times that it have to happen a 5th time. Right? or 3 times. So yeah, I'm kind of in between. What I'm really interesting is to see the strengths of the move that we're likely going to have when we finally break this 30K area, right? At some point, I'm expecting a large move, and depending on the strength of this, well, that's gonna be telling me the strength of this smaller wave 3 and potentially the higher degree wave 3 and see what has the target. But for now, if I'm taking the minimal target, could expect for the third wave, and if I'm staying on log, that's about 52K. We know we have an interesting liquidity level here. That's a pivotal market structure. So that often the level you want to look for the top of one wave, because it can produce a bit of correction here. And potentially 2618. So yeah, this could happen like this. Knowing it can happen really fast here, I'm forecasting the wave based on some kind of time balance, but when we are entering into the squeeze mode, it can happen really, really quick, and we could be printing the third wave by October or November here. Could even be quicker. So that's gonna be the main count I have in mind. And I'm going to follow unless it is invalidated. And what I'm looking for validation, well, at least we need to hold that June low. If we breach this low, this count is invalidated. And I will want to see a nice expansion at some point here. Ideally, I count correctly the first and second wave here of this bigger third of the bigger third. But yes, the third wave of the third of the third, we expect the strongest move of all. I'm keeping a few alternatives here. The most interesting one, well, this one is valid, but it's not the most interesting. It's maybe that one. Idea I stole from one of our crew member at Toros. There is a rule in Elliott Wave where wave 1 and 4 cannot overlap unless it is a particular diagonal, but in a standard impulse, which, well, makes the idea of this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 not valid because it is overlapping 1 and 4 here. But as we see, 3 move up, well, we could be tempted to see accounts such as this. And in fact, it is possible. We just have to move the top of the first wave here at the intermediary high, not the very high, and make this what we call an expanded flat correction, right? And so in that occurrence, wave 1 and 4 does not overlap. Why is it interesting? Well, because that's going to invalidate the ideas that I just presented prior to it here. But yeah, that's also what gives me the edge and the willingness to most likely look for short if we can get a nice rise here and a bit of a bull trap. Because with this idea, while we completed just the first wave, and then we can retrace anywhere as long as we don't breach November low, then the invalidation becomes a 15K low. So in particular, I will be interested in a sweep of that low, between the 25 and 19K, or even taking the 19K low. And that in terms of time is not bad, I find. because you remember I really like to see if we could reproduce the same patterns as the previous cycle, and such account could allow a bit more easily to get end of year a bit more bearish, and yeah, have a bit more correction, just to reproduce the pattern that we have seen so far. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's a few variations here, but for now they are not developed enough to be really compelling to talk about too much. But you know, there is a few variations we could be looking at, including again leading diagonal. Again, I show the ending diagonal on the higher time frame here. We could be looking at a leading diagonal, where the third wave would be smaller than the one, and the fifth as well. That could bring a lot of choppiness, especially as this will be subdivided as 3 waves instead of a classic 5 waves up, potentially. And that could allow us a bit more choppiness here and still get a retracing. As you know, we are reaching emotional level. Well, emotions are always there in Bitcoin market, but I guess you can feel how this level is particularly emotional trigger, because it is a lot of current top information, right? So everyone kind of expect almost everyone expect kind of a squeeze here, and it is the most obvious pattern also, as we see on the first obvious count, which is also pretty much the Elliott Wave international count as well, if I can mention that. You know, the company built by Robert Preacher, who writes the most known Elliott Wave Bible. So pretty decent analyst. And Toros is in the place as well. Good to see you, mate.
Absolutely, bro. One question from me actually. Do you keep in mind the volume when looking at Elliott waves?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question, in fact. Yes, that's going to be part of the analysis here. In fact, for this potential third wave, I'm going to make the difference also between a trappy pattern like an ending diagonal and a classic one like a expansion here. Elliott wave, we should see expansion in volume during the third wave. During an impulse, usually we see expansion in volume, and potentially most of the time a lower spike between the third and the fifth wave, like we saw a bit here, which also align with RSI divergence as we had here. In fact, but in a contracting diagonal, we could expect contraction in volume. And so far, that's true that we are still missing expansion in volume, at least here on Bybit inverse perp. Now, that's going to be also the complicated things with Bitcoin, is how the volume move from an exchange to another, and is very different between moment when market is driven by derivative or more by spot, and etc. Also, it's not appearing the same way when you look at the USDT pairs and the USD pair, because here on inverse pair the volume is denominated in Bitcoin, while on USDT it's going to be denominated in USDT. So it's increasingly a lot more. For that, I like to use my homemade aggregated spot chart to try to make the volume the most clean as possible. But you know, to do that, I have to exclude, for example, Binance, because Binance will fuck up your volume analysis a lot. So if you look at the Binance USDT pair, well, there's a huge increase in volume just because they lower spot trading fee to zero during that period. And so the trading bots and the wash trading went just wild here. And as soon as they mark up the trading fee again, well, the volume is just dying. So it makes the volume analysis really iffy. Because Binance is going to be the biggest exchange, so you will want to look at it. But at the same time, as there is so much wash trading and discrepancy between certain periods, it makes things a bit iffy. But nonetheless, yeah, we will need to see a bit of we will need to see serious expansion in volume here at some point to really validate the bullish case, and I would expect it. Probably at some point, you know, you're gonna have so much short squeeze, short cover, and FOMO that the volume gonna kick in at least on derivative here, I think. But for now, yeah, we're missing a bit of that. Also, I didn't mention, you know, for the mid-bearish case that I mentioned in the higher time frame, I shift a lot between my shots when I stream, but yeah, I have so many things in mind. I want to keep things a bit clear. You know, this idea that we could see a bit of a bull trap here in a lower high, not breach all-time high and still come back down. Well, for that, we could be looking at, for example, that count, where we print a fifth wave here, and we complete this, but instead of being wave 1 and we retrace for wave 2, that could be wave A, B, and we still go for a C around the halving and potentially maybe a spot ETF listing or approval or whatever. And at that point, we will have a potential corrective structure. And so, yeah, again, here's the volume going to be interesting to look at. If such a thing happens, do we see nice big volume increase gradually as we go up and increase in speed and it look like a third wave? Or are we just going into a squeeze, choppiness, and have a big increase in volume just at the very top? That's going to be the volume analysis is going to help you at least help you define if it's more of impulse or a corrective move. So
there are some questions in the chat, so maybe you can look at them.
Yeah, how long did it take you to learn Elliott Wave? You know, in trading, we never really stop to learn, I think. Well, at some point you learn more about the market behavior and style that can change over time. But otherwise, really, to be true about that question, it took me several years. Well, I can do that by looking at the Bitcoin chart simply because I remember well time with the price action. I started to learn about Elliott Wave only in 2018, 19. That's when I started doing that trend here. And took me, I was already trading and learning trading since a while. I started to really get interesting in trading more than just Bitcoin during the 2016 cycle. And I already dive into the trading thing really because of Bitcoin. But yeah, so it took me between 2019 to 21.
Two years or so.
Yeah, about
Like
2 years to really start to master a bit more. At the beginning, you do a lot of mistakes. But yeah, during that period, I was the basics of Elliott Wave. It doesn't take too much time to learn. In fact, by the way, at Toros, we do have an Elliott Wave series that I made in a few videos. So it's a few hours here, but probably going to redo them for shorter time. But the basics to, it's a book to read or a few hours to just understand the concept and the few rules. Then after, it's a lot of practice to be able to read it on the actual market. And what you do often is you come back, for example, here and what happened. And for example, from here to here that you have a complete wave pattern because you have an obvious low on top. And you know that now. So you can come back on that part of the chart, zoom in and try to read the sub count. And if I zoom in here, I know I have the impulse, so I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can make the count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the sub count, and you can dive into the smallest and smallest time frame to practice to find what fits. Obviously, you're going to be tempted to count as low as a 1 minute time frame on the current price action. I would just say that the Elliott Wave work really well on a high time frame. The more you dive, and you start to go below daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, it's gonna become a bit more tricky. When you go into the minute counts, while you got to really master a bit more. It's gonna take a lot of practice. You're gonna need to master a bit more the rules because you need to be more flexible. What was that? So yeah, it take times and practice and mistake. Not like everything in trading, there is no.
There is no easy way.
Yes, the basics of trading are all simple now to make it really efficient in your daily trading activity. It's another story. It's always I don't know how long it took you to get profitable in trading.
Maybe 2 years, I guess, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's often the timestamp that we hear about. Sometimes people get profitable in a few months or immediately, but yeah, I think often it's 2 years.
So there is one more question.
When do I come in Bulgaria? Yeah, good question. Well, we're gonna celebrate the next Bitcoin all-time high or next up.
Sounds good. Yeah. So I've told you before that I organize pretty good crypto meetups. So
yeah,
you're always welcome to join us, bro. Anytime.
Yeah, but we will come before that, maybe sooner. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you picture, you share me.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I'll probably have a trip to London to to meet Luke from Toros as well, in person.
Yeah, you should bring him also, yeah. So okay, if you have to say, are you leaning more bullish or bearish at the moment, as we are currently at high time frame resistance?
Well, I'm leaning. I'm leaning in between. Okay, I spend a bunch of time here explaining all scenarios, high time frame. Now, obviously, that's not gonna trigger, well, gonna help me trigger a trade, but that's not what's gonna precisely trigger my trades, the high time frame, because, well, that's too wide of invalidation. If we consider this invalidation to go long here, well, you not go you are not going to go along with any leverage here. That's obvious. So here, if I zoom in on this time frame, I can see two potential scenarios that are credible. One simply that we already complete the impulse here, and we are working on wave two. I say technically it's possible that the wave two is finished here with some kind of flat here. We did kind of retrace enough. I'm not finding this very credible. Well, I think we will have a bit more of a flush. I do think we will go below 29,400 at some point. How low and what time it's going to take, I don't know for now. It could get extremely choppy like it got here and take a lot of time to exhaust everybody, or it could be extremely quick. That's going to be one. There is no other that I'm leaning a bit more for, but it's getting really extended here. So it's the idea that we have a bit more extension, and we did just print 1, 2, 3, and potentially wave 4 here, or wave 4 still to be finished. As long as this range is not really broken one side or the other, well, we could still be in the same corrective wave, right? For now, it's look like corrective wave. So potentially we're still into wave 4, and I'm leaning more for this for another squeeze above or 31,500 here, with a significant markup and then a bit of distribution. In fact, just like we saw several times here. Well, several times. We saw here this long consolidation that took a lot of time, where price have been contracting, exhausting every side of the market. We took liquidity below, we took liquidity above, and then contract. And how this last market as a fifth wave, and that's where we trapped a bit more of the FOMO. Or what we did here, we had, as I'm counting it, a bit more severe wave 4 correction, but at the same idea, we have a consolidation and then a big markup where there is a trap before going into the second wave here. And that's, pretty much what I'm looking for. So maybe we sweep the 29.4 first. I don't think we need to, because we're already, starting to establish the range here. We took liquidity below, we took liquidity above. Would be more inclined to think that the likelihood is maybe contraction in price now, or expansion sides. But at the same time, I'm saying this, but the more I zoom in, the more this look like an impulsive move down, and this look corrective. So I'm still short here. But I'm aware that, I think there is high chances that we are going toward the 32, 33,000 before getting a second wave correction.
And, as we know, the 32,400 is a level that everyone looks. So
32,400 is everyone looking at? I don't know. Okay, maybe
the liquidity from last year, basically.
Yeah, that's the liquidity level. Yeah. So I have the 123 retracement here of the move down. maybe that's where we're gonna start.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know.
There is a potential short squeeze, if you ask me, because what I'm looking at the order flow, we can see that the CVD is coming down from the whole range. So
Yeah,
the sellers are very aggressive, but the price is
especially here. Yeah, on
yeah.
USDT, especially here.
Mhm.
True.
Yes, this mini range. So
That's
looks good for a
often.
short squeeze.
I think so too. Maybe a long squeeze first.
Mhm.
Seems that we are going down a bit locally. Yeah. Yeah. Was looking for this. I already have an exclusion. I was really looking for, this kind of pattern. Yeah. Short squeeze a bit into the horizontal consolidation and have your big increase in open interest as you go up, and then you trap short. Trap here. Yeah,
That
that
seems
make a
legit.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now locally it's pushing us down. So there are the moments where I'm gonna flip. Just I have Elliott Wave in mind, lower time frame. I'm reading it, but I'm in between, so that still trigger me into shorting here. But I'm still gonna be triggered to look for long lower here. Where is my levels? I don't know, where will you be looking at? There is weekly open here. Probably a bit of stop here. Oh, these lows are really tempting, especially as we have an untapped daily here.
Yeah, also the golden pocket is exactly at that daily. So
At the weekly open.
yeah, at the weekly open.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just gonna continue trading the range until it breaks, right?
Yeah, the best strategy ever.
Yeah. Well, if you're able to be profitable into a range, well, that's where you start to make really make money, because hey, it seems easy to make money when things are trending, especially upward. First time I bought Bitcoin, it was really easy. I was just buying Bitcoin while it was going up. It kept going up and really easy. But you start to lose into consolidation, or if you start to to leverage things, you have tighter stops than just buying on spots. And if you miss a move, well, I don't remember what the time is, but somebody was just remembering that usually the market that I lost my word. The market moved really quickly. It has a lot more of time of consolidation and correction that trending, right? And here, you trend during just a few days and you consolidate during a lot longer. And so if you're able to make money during a range, well, that's where you're going to make money. And hopefully you're going to be positioned already by just trading smaller time frame on the right direction at some point. Or be able to also just all spots, because that's also the best way to make money with Bitcoin, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what helped me a lot with Toros, by the way. I can do a bit of advertisement, because as an elotician, you can often get trigger to look for trending move always looking for a breakout or a trend, etc., and lost your mind on very overlapping price action that are complicated to count, and on or when you don't know how to trade, you tend to trade the breakout, the obvious pattern, and that's where you get trapped. But by learning order flow, simple strategy of day trading, that help a lot to make monitoring during range like this.
Yeah, actually, if you only trade swing failure patterns, you can make pretty good money.
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
Only if you trade SFPs, nothing more.
Yes, yeah, you're right. SFPs, and be able to take and be greedy on object profit as well.
Yeah.
As here you have a good SFP, you just have to into another SFP, into another SFP. You're right, that's the best move.
Okay, and also the 25k retest, we had also very nice SFP trade exactly at the bottom, very easy to take. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the
24.8k.
Yeah. Yeah,
that was
one.
pretty easy. Yeah.
Well, then you have to just also be reactive, because remember, I think I went a bit more long here because I was a bit in early days when it bottomed out. Was kind of tired with all this trying to count this choppiness. It just got my nerve down. But yeah, as soon as you are able to recognize the strengths and the change of behavior, the impulsiveness of the thing. Yeah, jumping in a simple SFP trade here, you have a quick take profit, and you're in the good direction. Yeah. Was there any other question I missed?
I think there are no more questions.
Oh yeah, Toros said it says he's ready to do a meetup in London as well. Great.
I'm in.
I'm finishing right now. But you already know all my stuff anyway. Okay. Well,
so what's going to be your choice? If you can see, I've put a little poll inside the chat.
Oh, bottom is in. Yeah. Yeah. Your question is on the item frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm leaning for bottom to be in.
Okay.
My main consideration is, I really need to see what's gonna be the next leg up. Well, the next leg, I'm expecting a micro fifth, but after this, I need to see if we build a higher low, and then the strength of the next move. I mean, I still think we will be able to potentially come back into that area at some point, but 15K, I'm leaning with like a 89% probability that it's not going to be broken.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, brother. So I think we can wrap it up here. It was very, very interesting for me to see your counts and your point of view. So I'm really grateful for this stream. So thank you again.
Grateful that you inviting me. It was a pleasure. And we can
do it again someday.
Time.
Yeah.
Sure. When we have a bit more price action here. so I
Yeah.
will come back to do an update on that.
Okay,
Crazy.
okay. Okay, so I'll finish the stream with few words in Bulgarian. So thank you again, brother. Благодаря на всички, че се включихте в днешния live стрим. Надявам се да ви е било интересно. Може да последвате French Bull и Toros. Оставил съм линкове, както в чата, така и в описанието под стрима. Така че, ако стримът ви е харесал, може да харесате видеото, да се абонирате за каналът ни и очаквайте скоро още изненади от мен, още колаборации с други трейдъри, така че да, това е лека вечер на всички. Благодаря ви, че се включихте. Okay, brother, that's from me. So thank you again and have a good evening, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And bye for now.
Bye bye.